Hi y'all, it's Andrea over at Sewspire.com, and today we are here in my newly established home sewing studio. This is actually just a corner, a sunny corner albeit, of our home. I do not have a formal sewing space in our house. Well, I do now, but prior to this week, I did not have one here, and that is because, as many of you know, I have a very large commercial sewing space that contains all of my machines. I teach lessons there, and then I run my business Watermelon Wishes out of there, as well as Sewspire.com. And so there really wasn't a need for me to have space in our home up until this point. And the reason that I have established all of this is in preparation for the coronavirus to arrive in our area. It's already in the state, and there are some local instances of it as well. So I just want to be just one step ahead, if at all possible. So I have been preparing our family for several weeks. We've gathered as much food as we could and additional pantry items that one would want if they couldn't get out. And so once I felt I had that under control, then I just started gathering the things that I would need to continue running the YouTube channel as well as my business. And yesterday I brought all of those items home here and got it set up. And so I did have to prioritize for a couple reasons. One, I was moving everything by myself, and two, I don't want it to overwhelm our house, and I don't want to not enjoy the space that I'm creating in. So I wanted to keep it as minimalistic as possible. And I think I've done a really good job of doing that. So I wanted to share with you all how I set the space up, because for new people joining us who don't yet have a sewing space or a room in which to create a sewing space, this could be a wonderful model for your little sewing nook. And by nook, I mean, when I look up, there is our kitchen right there. So I just took this little inset, which has a door that leads to our patio, and then windows here where I can get lots of natural light, listen to the birds sing, take in the gorgeous cherry blossoms right outside of my window, but yet strategically placed within eyesight of my kitchen so that I can manage my family seriously, because that might need to happen. You know, if we do get in a situation like other countries where we are really conserving our food, I want to be able to be right here at the center of our home, still pursuing what I love and connecting with our community, but able to take care of my family and manage the food and the kitchen and all of those needs. So to some, I'm sure this sounds extreme. I just really don't think so, given what is happening across the world. So I would much rather be safe than sorry, and that's what I'm hoping to do. This morning when I shared photos of the space, someone asked, why am I quarantining? And the simple answer to that is, I hope not to get sick. And then the secondary answer to that is, I would like to make way out there in the world for anyone who has not yet gathered the things that they're going to need. And I personally have already noticed people kind of being more frantic out there and somewhat careless with their driving and such. I had a close call on the way home from the studio the other day. Somebody crossed completely over the center line. So I'm just making way and making space for the world to get what they need And then by staying inside, doing what I love, connecting with this community, taking care of my family and my home, hopefully we stay well. And then that in and of itself means we didn't give it to anyone else. So those are just my wishes, just my intentions that I want to share with you. But right now, everyone in our house is healthy. If that should change, of course, I will let you know and we'll adapt as needed. But I'm really hoping that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. I think it goes like that. My grandmother used to say that. So let's kind of get on to the fun stuff now. Let me tell you what I brought here. I did get a lot of thought to this, what I would absolutely need. So I have actually, let me start with why you're moving like that. This is my favorite feature. It's a farm table that we bought years ago at an antique shop in Leesburg, Virginia. And I added casters to it yesterday, and I can move this all around. And so this is my favorite feature. It's about, I'll share a picture. It's about 2.5, 3 feet by maybe a little more than 24, probably 26 inches. So it fits cutting mats nicely. It's the perfect height for me to sit at in a chair. And like I said, it's got these smooth casters on it, so I can move it around and use it as my layout table to host the live chats, the sew-alongs, things like that. I think most of the tutorials are going to be filmed up here on this taller table by the window with the camera coming in like that, so you all can have a good angle. And plus this table is really sturdy, and I'll talk to you about that as well. It's a gorgeous tile table that I actually brought in off the patio strictly because it's the right height and it is super sturdy. It's like the wrought iron there. And so I brought that in so I have a nice counter height cutting, because I sew so much that it will only take just a couple of hours and my whole body will ache if I don't have things at the right height. And because for many years I've had the commercial studio, everything has been at the right height. So this is important to me to get the right furniture in this small space so that I can be comfortable. So I have the larger cutting mat up here and the sewing machine, and then the table in the center that will roll. And then behind me, a couple of you asked about the artwork. The larger tree picture my daughter Megan painted for me and gave me as a gift last Christmas. And I love the color. I love trees, and there is quite a bit of symbolism in that painting, which I'll just leave to your imagination. But she definitely created that with my personality in mind. And then there's glare on it, so you really can't see it. I may bring it over because it's a cute story, goes with the little one. It's like kind of like a hole in an abyss, but it is just stunning. And I don't know if you noticed, but everything kind of matches. The yoga pants here, I am a color addict, but this picture here was created by Isabel, and it uses the they don't call them chalks, what are like those oil sticks, you know, they're brilliant color but very messy. And so she created this 2 years ago, I think, in art, and she knew when she made it that it was perfectly me, and she was really excited inside. And she happened to look at her little friend who was next to her and said, "I'm giving this to my mom and she's going to put it in a frame." And her friend laughed and kind of teased her. And so when she came home, and she was just thrilled to give it to me, and she presented it to me, the first thing I said is, "Oh, I love it. I'm going to put it in a frame." And it just made her life. But I really do love this picture as well. So I have little bits of my girls. I'm just going to hang this up quick. The color, thanks to my girls, which is so important to me because you know the studio is just like exploding with color. And our house is not, it's tasteful, but almost everything inside of my house is gray. Like gray is the primary color because I wanted the house to be very peaceful. But when I'm creating or working, I just need like that hit of color, that adrenaline. And so because I have enough of that at the studio, I can have rather subdued home. And that's my compromise there, that art there. So that's good. And then I brought Suzette's bag home with me too, and that's a nice pop of color too. And that's holding all of the little tiny bits of interfacing and such that I'd been saving at the studio. That's actually just a little bit of it I put in there because that's going to be my theme for this next Sewspire series after we finish the My Beautiful Life bag this Tuesday. Is I'm going to start working through the fabric and the little bits and the little scraps that I have on hand. And right now I'm calling that low to no waste. And you're about to see what I mean here in a minute. I have a whole back office at the studio that has bags and baskets and bins full of fabric remnants that are too good to waste. They just really are. And so I have brought home one of those bags. It is very heavy. I'm going to try and guess how much, but I'm going to hold it up for you. I just brought one for now. You see that? It's like one of those big college laundry bags. I mean, I don't know. It's definitely more than 50 pounds, but not too much more than 50 pounds because I can lift it. So it is chock full, and some bigger cuts, some little cuts, but really, I'll just hold up just a little bit here to get, there's a substantial amount of material in this bag here. So I'm going to start with this bag and begin sewing. A lot of what I want to do will be patchwork and very eclectic and colorful work, which is by far the most satisfying to me. So I will, whenever possible, try and give you all the individual measurements for that. But patchwork design, which I hope to be able to convey to you in this series, really is about letting go. Just letting the fabric play, letting the fabric create something that it wasn't before. And you will see as I demonstrate this and share pictures, because I will be sewing every day, working through this pile. And through that process, you will be able to see what I mean by when I say just letting go and letting the fabric take on a life of its own with that. So that's going to be the objective of this space for however long this lasts, is just using up what I have on hand. I did have to buy a few things in preparation for this, and it was kind of a surreal, weird feeling to think, what if I couldn't get more of what I needed? What would I want? Because I never have to think about that. I am at the Hobby Lobby, the Joann's, the Michaels, sometimes twice a week. It didn't even occur to me ever that I might not be able to get what I wanted. So in this case, it wouldn't be necessarily that the store wouldn't be open. It would be that I would be taking a risk by going to the store to get what I needed. And so the first thing that came to mind was thread. I go through tons of thread, especially the patchwork design, because you're piecing everything. So it requires so much thread. So my first thought was, oh my gosh, I'll never have enough thread. And many of you know I only use one color of thread when sewing. And my Walmart a couple months ago did away with a thread that I like, so I have to buy it at Joann's, which is not close to me. It's a little bit further out, and it of course costs more money, so I can't get as much as I want. So I did compromise on the Gutermann, which is my favorite, and I got a couple of these Coates and Clark bundles, because since most of what I'm going to be doing is piecing, I think it'll be okay. It's just, I don't know how you say that, mersized. I thought it was pronounced differently though. Cotton thread, 1,200 yards, 30 weight. So I think it'll be okay. It's made in Egypt. If not, worst case scenario, I do have quite a bit of that. I would prefer not to, of course. In all of the machines here, I may be able to incorporate the embroidery into some of the projects as well. I personally have a Memory Craft 350E for my embroidery machine, and that is a Janome. Get you over there to see it. And it's several years old. So I know some of you have that machine, and some of you have really, really nice embroidery machines. So we may be able to work in the embroidery as well, depending how long this goes on. The other consideration after thread was batting and interfacing, right? So I picked up some of that, but worst case scenario, if the batting runs out and the interfacing runs out, I can still piece the fabric, and I'm sure for a little longer than the stores have stock, Amazon and such will have stock too. So in a couple weeks, I may, if we're still here, I may order a larger roll of batting to hold me over. But these might be things that you should be thinking about too, depending where you are in the country, depending how much stock you have on hand, depending what you want to do. To me, I can't imagine not being able to sew. So that's what I want to be able to do, and that's what I was trying to secure here. Now, all of that being said, we are in our home, and my family is my number one priority, and I don't want what I do here with this channel and these videos to inconvenience them or make them not feel comfortable in their home. It was kind of funny because when I said I'm recording today, I need about an hour, they just scurried away. So I'm like, oh, that could be good if I need some some quiet time to myself. So I'm recording, and they'll all run away. But again, in all seriousness, I do want them to feel comfortable. So I will do my best to, create a quiet atmosphere to record, but my dog might come in, my dog might bark, you might hear somebody getting a drink of water or setting down a cup or something like that, and we're just going to have to roll with that. I'm sure lots of you are in your homes too, and I know many of you are parents and grandparents, and you will totally get that. So we will do our best to continue providing really good content for you without distractions, but we are in my house, and we are trying to get through what is a worldwide crisis. So we're going to do the best we can. So as originally planned and promised, Fridays was supposed to be the day that I gave you a look through the design book. So this project here was my biggest design project, and I did sketch that out in there, and I will continue to make notes on that page as well. I actually really love designing creative spaces, and this is a work in progress. I have to get all of that fabric organized. So as I start doing that and folding and sorting sizes and colors, you'll see lots of pictures on Instagram and such. And then I also got to sew a planner cover that was a little larger. I made a smaller planner cover out of this gorgeous fabric last week, I believe, maybe the week before, and I got to make the larger one. And then I had a lot of camera strap covers that I got to sew from these pretty fabrics. And that was all I did this week. Thankfully, business is a little bit slower over on the Etsy end. That was perfect so that I could focus on getting this all set up. I am going to keep my Etsy shop open during this, and I'll just ship from home, or There is some concern in my mind that the post office won't eventually be open. If that happens, then I will have to make some decisions with regards to the Etsy business. But right now, I'm still going to try and run that from home. Speaking of Etsy, there have been some really interesting changes over there. Those of you that sell on Etsy, I'm sure, are aware of them. At some point, I am going to address that in a future video or post, just not today because it's too much. It's a whole nother topic. But for right now, I'm hanging in there with the Etsy. And I'll let you know if that changes. And then I'm just going to look at my list and make sure there's nothing else that I wanted to share with you today. That's it. So thank you for joining me here. I will see everyone next Tuesday at noon to finish off the My Beautiful Life tote bag. That, of course, was recorded in the studio because I record that in advance. But then the following Tuesday, we'll be sewing from here and working through this giant bag of fabric on a new project. And the theme going forward will be low to no waste. All right? So I hope you all have a beautiful weekend. Be well, be safe, err on the side of caution. Gather those supplies that you might need, okay? As always, the creative genius in me will be celebrating the creative genius in you.